Botarde, nice that you click on the YouTube link. I am Petronelle Enneking, I'm 59 years old. I am the owner of the brand Petronelle Enneking. I help clients to invest safe, secure and profitable in Portuguese real estate. In this video I'm going to talk about what everybody has to experience when they first buy a family home, a property in Portugal, whether it's for holidays or to invest in both ways, as a holiday home or as a family home, and to rent it out. We all went the same path, me as well, when I started first to have a family home here in Portugal. So I will tell you a little bit about my journey when I bought my first family home in Portugal, and where you have to to watch when you want to buy your dream home in Portugal. My journey started 25 years ago in Portugal. I didn't think a lot about it, and my husband as well. We just went traveling, and then we ended up, we saw the sign Portugal on the road. I have made a different YouTube film about it. And basically, I was fed up with Amsterdam, where I lived. It was for me too busy. I had two small children, 3 and 7, and I didn't want to live there anymore. I didn't want to raise my children. I wanted to have more space around me, more freedom. I always loved the sun because I always have been traveling, but never choose, that saying. I've lived 6 months as well when I was younger in Lanzarote. Back then it was time sharing. I was already busy in the real estate business, and I have lived half a year in Germany, in Hamburg. So that's about my traveling. So coming back to Portugal. My grandmother, when I was younger, my grandma always went to Portugal on the holidays, and then I always had that, of course, in the back of my mind. And to make a long story short, we ended up in Portugal. This journey was not without obstacles, and because it's always difficult when you go to a new country. First of all, you don't speak the language. Back in the old days, it was mainly French. The older generation Portuguese spoke French, especially the builders. They have been building in France, and then they came back to Portugal. That was one thing. I always love languages. I speak a few languages like Dutch, German, English, and French, and now, of course, Portuguese. But back then I didn't have it. So when you come first to Portugal, it's the language is the first obstacle. Nowadays, of course, everybody speaks most of the time. The younger generation speaks as well English. But that's just one obstacle. Then you come into a country where you don't know the laws, you don't know the legislations, you don't know the locations. It's all one big search, what makes it very interesting, of course, because it's also a challenge when you come to a country new. And we had, to go back to my steps, we have been traveling in Portugal. The first thing we came in Quinta do Lago. I don't know, but we ended up there as the first destination. I think we rented their property, and then we came into Follow the Lobo. That's also part of the Golden Triangle. And then we met with Sanders. I think, Sanders was his name. And he was a developer of, also a Dutchman, the developer of the whole of Follow the Lobo. Follow the Lobo is very much concentrating, of course, around the golf courses. Quinta do Lago is also a beautiful golf course. But us, as we are not golfers, we didn't have the connection with the area, and then we moved further up. We moved further up to the central of Portugal, and there we rented another property, and it was in Cavero. We stayed there, I think 1 or 2 months, and we stayed in Porsches in a hotel in Villa Vita. It's a very beautiful luxury hotel. It's owned by a German investment insurance company, and now they have extended that. They have as well a herdade for the wine tasting. They have several properties which you rent out in Amsterdam de Pera. So that was a little bit about the journey where we were traveling. I remember one day we went to a place called Verragudo, a small fisherman's village. And as you know, you're going to travel. I don't know exactly the steps anymore, how we ended up there. And there I found a property in Verragudo, and it was in Pintadinho Beach, which immediately I fell in love because it was uninterrupted sea views. And then the owner that came from Lisbon. We had a chat there, and me being Dutch, I called up the number what was on the property, and that was a property owner from Lisbon. We had a conversation, we made an offer, and then there was an agreement, but then on the end my husband didn't want to buy it because he got a chat with somebody from the hotel, and they said Ingelé, it's close to Albufeira, it's much nicer property and has much more space, so you have more value for the money. So as you see in this little time that I think it is, what we're talking about, a few months, we have been traveling around already only on the Algarve in Portugal. And that's basically what's happened. That back then, I'm talking about 25 years ago, it was not so the search on the internet, the scrolling on like the Idealista and all these things. So it was a different thing. We searched offline. And that was a mistake. We bought that as a family home because it was a big family home. It had, I think, 4 bedrooms. It had a very nice space outside because we came with the mindset from Holland. You want to have space around, you want to have a big villa. But then we started to live here, the children in the international school, and then the traveling started, and that was really a no-go because every day traveling, 40 minutes come and 40 minutes back. And on top of that, of course, the children, when they grow up, they want to play with friends, and that is in the weekend. They are sport clubs, so they want to be close to their friends. So in the weekend was also for me a traveling, to driving up and down. And so based on that, we sold the property and we want to move closer to the international school because I put the children in the national school because I didn't know if I want to stay in Portugal or not because we didn't have the idea really about emigrating to Portugal. We just wanted to have a break from Holland, from Amsterdam. So we ended up buying a family home in Cabrero, and that makes the life much more easier. And it was not such a huge property like we bought in the first time, because what we discovered here in Portugal, basically the lives happen outside of the property. You live outside because of the many sun hours. You stand up, you have your coffee, morning coffee on the terrace. And here the life happens outside. You go to a bar, let's say bar, a cafeteria here. You have your coffee, you bring your children to the school. Sometimes you have your coffee there in the cafeteria. You meet your friends, or you go to the sport clubs. Everything happens outside of the property. So what I found out is that the property don't need, in my case, not needs to be so big. Of course, you need space with the family, but not that huge space. You don't need a huge amount of land because normally you don't use all of that land. You need gardeners, you need poolmen, you need a cleaning lady. So you start already with a staff what I didn't want in Holland anymore, and you ended up to have that in Portugal as well. So that's why I said always to people, if you're gonna buy a property abroad, really clearly think what you really need for your family, which space you really need in the property, why you want to have a lot of outside space. Are you gonna do the garden, or is it just that you want to have the view of the nice garden? I think more important with the family is the surroundings. Are there living children in the area? Are there sport clubs in the area? Are there schools in the area? Because that's normally the daytime, what you have in your own country, that daily life you have in Portugal as well. That's not so much different than the life what you live in your own country. We're speaking about when you move with the family. I think that's more important when you are looking for a property, that you check out the area. Because on the end of the day, you want the family to be happy. You want the family, and especially the children, when they grow up, then they can move independently. Otherwise, you end up like a chauffeur, like the driver, the private driver of your children. And a lot of mothers, which I have spoken afterwards, we all agreed on one thing. We had in the beginning, when we came to Portugal, it's a lot of driving because the bus connections here, it's not so good as in our home countries. So this is just a small, I want to make not a large video about buying your family home in Portugal. I will make more videos about this topic because I get a lot of questions always from families, especially from mothers. Where to look for when you buy a property, a family home in Portugal. If you find this video interesting and you want to see more what I want to tell about Portugal and living in Portugal, then stay tuned and then click on the bell and to keep following me for more videos. Ciao.